I've started recording the class. The class is now being recorded, and I'll start sharing my screen. If you can see my screen, you can just join. They can see the other data. Uh, Chris, I have just sent the data on. I've just sent the data on WhatsApp. You can go ahead and look at it. Okay. Okay. There's something that is keeps distracting me here, but I'll okay. So here's the data. Although I will before I go to the data, these are just a data set that I got online. I can this is just an example of a data set. I'll just go and open a new tab. Okay. I'll open a new tab and I'll start from here. I hope everybody can see my screen. Everybody can hear me clearly. All right. Kindly, if your mic is on, kindly mute it. If your mic is on, kindly mute it so that we go together. Can everybody see my screen? I'm just checking on my chats to ensure everybody can see my screen and is ready to. Yes, Beatrice says she can see my screen and she's with me. Okay, so I think I'll start. So here, basically, this is what an Excel worksheet looks like. Okay, I've just opened a new worksheet and this is how it looks like. So when you look at this, when you go to your Excel app and just open, this is what you'll find. This is what we call a workbook. Okay, the general thing. This is the workbook. So the when I tell you to do something on your workbook, I mean that you open a new Excel file and maybe just do some work there. Okay, so this is basically the general outlook of Excel. So I'll go ahead and show you, and maybe we'll just get to discuss at each and every point, what does the file ribbon mean, what does the home ribbon mean, what does the insert ribbon mean, what can I do in the page layout, because basically these are the ribbons that enable you to do your work in Excel. All right. So I'd sent you some notes. If you had gone through, maybe you can have a clue or idea of what goes on. So I'll start from the the leftmost part of the of what is written here. Okay, up here are the buttons in which you can use maybe to save your file. Maybe if you have done something and you want to undo it, there's always an undo button here and there is a redo button here. For example, if I wrote in my in my worksheet here, I wrote a number 90, all right, and I wanted to remove this number from the worksheet, there's always an undo button here. So if I get to undo, I'll undo that which I had written, but if I get to redo, I'll just do what I had written. So these are basically the function of that those buttons there. And then this button is for saving your workbook. Maybe I want to save it somewhere, maybe it's on your desktop, maybe it's maybe you want to save it on your OneDrive file so that you get to share with others in your organization, or maybe you're working on a joint file with your classmates, you'll get to use that. Okay, so that is basically what is up here. This search bar up here is a new function in Excel in which it enables you to search anything that you want to search, like a function that maybe you don't know where the conditional formatting is. So I can just come here and search conditional formatting. It will get me all those functions that can be in conditional formatting. You can only use this search function if you know what you want to search. All right. Okay, so I'll start here at the file. When you go to file, you'll get uh you'll get a workspace like this. Okay, is there a question? Kindly, if you're not speaking, just mute your mic. Can you hear me clearly? If you can, just type in the chat box, because in these online meetings I might be speaking to myself and I am not, and I don't know. Okay, so I'll keep asking you to maybe just, if you can hear me, type in a yes. If you're together, if I'm going too fast, we can I can also change. Okay, thank you for all those who are replying, and I really appreciate. So here, when I go to the file button, which is the file ribbon, we call all this a ribbon. Okay, so I will just get to discuss what each ribbon has and how we can use it for our analysis. All right. Okay, so the file ribbon contains various functions, which is now you can go to the home button. Okay, while you are on the file ribbon, you can create a new worksheet. Okay, and maybe even use some of the preset templates in Excel. Okay, under the new worksheet button. Okay, so open, it will show you all the files that you've been working on maybe. All right, so info, it will also tell you maybe if you want to protect a workbook, you can just come here. We'll get to know what is protecting a workbook, maybe what is protecting a cell. Maybe you want to send somebody an Excel file and you don't want them to change anything. You always come to the protect workbook or the review ribbon, as I will show you later. So if maybe you want to save, you just come and press the save button here. If you want to save as, maybe you want to save something in a different name. Maybe you sent a file that is written Kennedy and you want to save it as maybe Jane. So you'll just save as Jane and you'll save it wherever you want to save. When you want to print a file, you'll always have maybe you want to print a workbook. Okay, for example, if I had written 90 here and I want to print it, I'll just go print here. You see my 90 appears here. It gives me a preview of how I want to print. Also, I'll get to show you how you can always set your page so that whatever you print is well legible and can be used by any other person. Okay, so that's under the file. You're still under the file. So if maybe you want to share this workbook, if you want to share this workbook also, you have this. So if you're on the full Microsoft ecosystem and you share this, it will directly lead you to your Outlook account. It might have a little challenge when you're using maybe you're not fully on the Outlook ecosystem. It might give you a challenge, but if that gives you a challenge, you can always go to your Gmail and attach the file. Are we together? So if you're fully on the Microsoft ecosystem, this will be very seamless, because once you share, it will take you directly to your Outlook. Okay, Outlook is the Gmail of Microsoft, just as Gmail is the emailing platform of Google. Okay, so maybe if you want to export, the same thing. If you want to publish, and maybe if you want just to close this tab. Okay, so here under the account details, when you click here, it will always give you your account details and maybe which version of Microsoft that you are using. Okay, so that's that. I'll just, oh, okay, this is a very another important part. I hope everybody can follow through. There's an options here. Options, it enables you to preset some of the things that you may want to maybe the how you want your Excel to look like, what you want always to view. This part, written options under the file ribbon, will always help you to customize search. Okay, so if there's something on your formulas, I'll show you when you maybe you can use this to enable interactive calculation. This is maybe when you are using something that refers to the same cell, so it has to iterate many times. You'll always click it here. By default, Excel has it disabled, but if you want to enable it, you can always do. Okay, so Excel uses the A1 referencing style, and the A1 referencing style, let me just show you. A1 usually call columns by their names and rows by their number. I hope everybody can be able to look here clearly. So this is a row, right? Rows in Excel are usually named by letters. Are we together, guys? Columns are named by the alphabetical letters. So after Z, it starts at A, B, all the way up until X, F, D. Okay. So rows are named by numbers, and we have a million rows and 48,576. That is one of the limitations of Excel, because it has quite a limited number of rows. You see, at 1,048,576, you cannot type anything else. Okay, so this, as I was saying, is the referencing style. A is the column, 1 is the row. So we use the A1 referencing style. This means that when I write maybe in this cell, you see here, I can say that I'm on cell B3. Okay, and once you click inside the cell, you'll always see on which cell you are under the name box here. Okay, let's just finish up with the ribbon. I'll explain the name box and the formula bar. Okay, but this is just because I saw it here, and I think it's important for you to know here, when you want to maybe use the R1C1 style. R1C1 style means that the first row is called R1, then this one is C1. Okay, but basically and conventionally it is not used nowadays. It was used in previous versions, but right now we are using the A1 style. Okay, so most of these things you might need them while you have already understood maybe the basics, and now I'm moving on to the more complex stuff as we move on. Okay, so these are all the options that you can have. Some advanced options, maybe you want just to custom remove some maybe printing lines on your paper. You can always use this ribbon or this option. Okay, so the other thing is important thing I like everybody to take key note of under the file options is the add-ins. Why add-ins? Add-ins are things that do not come originally with Excel. This is like a package that does not come originally with Excel, but you might need it for analysis. Okay, so such is this analysis tool pack. Okay, so this analysis tool pack is the statistical package or application inside Excel. It does not come with it initially, but we can always install it as it is always located under the add-ins part. Okay, so here under the add-ins part, we'll get to also install this analysis toolpath maybe later. Okay, after we understand the basics. So today we're just trying to see what is where and how can it be used. Okay, so I hope you're together, guys, and you have gotten something from the file ribbon. So home ribbon, yes, kindly go ahead. And you maybe you say your name because I cannot see. I'm in the presentation mode. Yeah, okay, Joseph, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, huh? Uh-huh. Now, once you open the file ribbon here, home ribbon is a different ribbon from the file ribbon. Joseph. Yes, home ribbon is a different ribbon. All these, a file ribbon is different, home ribbon is different, insert is different, and now I was just explaining first on what you see under the file ribbon. Okay. All right. So, is there any other question before we go to home? Again, this is one of the most important ribbon. I'll tell you why. Because it's the most used in terms of anything formatting. Okay, so when you go to the home ribbon, it usually contains some of the key features that you'll always be using while using Excel. Okay, what is formatting? Maybe you want to change a number from black to green to white. Okay, and maybe you want to change a heading. Maybe you want to give your title a nice looking heading. Okay, we can go ahead and just maybe see how you can use the home button. Okay, so maybe if you everybody has their workbook opens, you can just try typing you can just try typing something in cell B2, maybe day 1 class. Okay, so while you type in that, we'll get to see how the home ribbon can be used. Now, while you're in the home ribbon, you can always change the fonts that you want. Okay, you just select the cell, go to the cell, maybe change the font. You can always change it to any font of your liking. Okay, so here is where you change the font. You can always make it to increase the font of the size here or reduce the font here, make it bold, make it italic, or maybe underline it. So for maybe our case, we like to make it more bold. Okay, and then I'll just expand that column. Maybe I want it to have a certain color. I'll just want it to have maybe an orange color. Sorry, you must always be on that cell as you format it. Maybe I just want it to have an orange color and maybe a white font. Okay, so you see I'm under the home ribbon and I've just been able to do this here. Okay, so I've just gone into a cell, typed a word, and then use these features that are here. Okay, so these are like the formatting tools in Excel. Remember, formatting is very important and very mandatory, especially when you're making a presentation or you're making a dashboard to be used by other people. All right, so I hope everybody can be able to type inside the workbook, the worksheet, sorry, and be able to format as such. You can choose any color that you want to format in. Just this is just you to get used to such kind of stuff. Okay, so here also, this is also alignment. How do you want your words to be aligned? This is majorly used when maybe you have a wrapped cell, a cell that is more than one line. Okay, so if this was a very small if I made my column very small, you see I can't see the whole of this. So there's an option here written wrap text. Okay, I can always wrap text. So when I wrap my text, it will always make sure that I'm able to see the full word. Okay, so these are some of the features which I cannot necessarily or in totality show you how to use them, but can only be learned by toggling in such features. Okay, so when I've wrapped my text like that, I can now align it to any direction that I want. Okay, maybe I want it to be aligned in the center, maybe I want it from the end, or maybe for it to be left aligned, maybe to be right aligned, maybe for it to be center aligned. Okay, I can see Winfred says she's not able to see my screen. Is there anybody experiencing the same challenge? Sorry, you guys have not been able to see my screen for all this time? Anybody else? Apart from Winfred and Joseph? Sorry, Joseph, for that. Are you able to see my screen? I should stop sharing and maybe try to reshare. Okay, I don't know what's the challenge, Winfred and Joseph. Thank you for that confirmation. Winfred, I will ask you to maybe leave the meeting and try rejoining and see if you'll be able to see my screen. Kindly, that can be a quick solution. Joseph, too, you can try leaving the meeting for a minute and then joining back, and so that you maybe just restart the Google Meet app. Okay. Thank you for those who have confirmed that they can be able to see my screen. So I was explaining some of these features here. So I've already shown you how you can wrap a text. Wrap a text just clearly is when maybe a text is not be the column is quite small and the text cannot be seen in a whole cell. So when you wrap, it usually jumps over to the next line. Okay. So I'll just return this. I'll unwrap it so that it's just on one line. Okay. So when you maybe have a small column that is not, the word cannot be full, you can always wrap a text. A margin center. Margin center is when maybe I want all these cells to be one cell. Okay. Kindly look at this, guys, because it's also very important. Merge and center is when I want to make all these cells to become a single cell. So if you don't know what a cell is this one small box in Excel, okay? Like this one small box. So it's B and then 5. There, as we had said earlier, it has A1, the A1 referencing, okay? So this is cell B5. So merge and center, when maybe I have a very long heading and I want to make like this, I had day one class here. Maybe I want all these cells to become a single cell. I usually use this function called merge and center. So when I merge and center, you see what happens, guys? This cell now becomes B4. You see, when I move from E3, I'm supposed to go. Okay, let me just show you practically. When I move from I3, as you can see here in the name box, I'm supposed to go to I4. But what happens here? When I move from F3, normally I'm supposed to go to F4, but since I've merged all these cells using this function, I can only move to B4. So it's like I've removed all those other cells from my worksheet. This is a very good function and it helps your headings to be more clearer, but again it can bring it can bring a little bit of challenges, especially when you're modeling. So an alternative to this I'll show you is maybe just aligning all your text to a center. How can we do that? I'll just maybe type a sentence here. Maybe I'll write here, okay, let me just write financial report for the year ended 2022. Okay, you see, once I merge this cell, let me show you if I unmerge. Once I unmerge, you see it's like this word does not fit in one cell. So what happens? Maybe I just want to make this my heading. I go ahead and merge. Okay, but again I said there's a small caveat to the merging and centering, in that it might bring some small issues while you're modeling or adding rows or adding columns. So the alternative to it is usually this. You can always go to your formatting. Maybe I want these words to be centered across all these cells. I can always go under my home ribbon, under this this place where I have my formatting tools. As you can see, there's a small arrow down here expanding a format box. Okay, I would like you, after the class, kindly go try these things, or if you can try them with me, the better. Okay, so I've said under the formatting, under the home ribbon, in this section there is this small arrow that helps me open a bigger formatting dialog box. So in this dialog box I can always change my numbers to a certain format that I want. Okay, I'll come to this just in a moment. Okay, so I was telling you, if you want to align, maybe I want to align so that my heading is across all these cells. I just go to this dialog box, then go to alignment. I'll just choose center across selection and I press OK. Okay, so you see all these, they look the same, and they look like they have they have the same formatting. Although here we had merged, here we have just used a formatting style. This formatting style is much better because it won't give any trouble while you're adding columns or removing any columns. Okay. Guys, I hope you're taking keen note or you're looking clearly so that you get to see these nitty gritties that will help you while you're moving forward. I just want to confirm that Joseph is able to see my screen and Winfred. Winfred, are you able to see my screen? Winfred? Okay. No answer from Winfred. And Joseph? Are you guys able to hear me? Are you able to see my screen? Kindly chat in my chat box because I'm a little bit worried. Yeah, Winfred says she's able to see. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Winfred. Uh, any questions? I have not looked for in the chat box for a minute, so I can see. If your chat box, sorry, if your actions for alignment are frozen, it might be that you're not selecting the cell that you want to select. Okay. So there's also another shortcut when going to the format dialog box. You can just note this somewhere that you can always press Control 1. Control 1 will always lead you to this dialog box. Actually, that is a very fast way to always, just when you want to format anything, just press Control 1 and it will lead you directly to the format dialog box. Okay. So, yes. Okay. I cannot see them from my end because I'm on the chat and I'm sharing the screen. Kindly, if you have a question, just shoot it. Mary Dama and Wilberforce. Yes, Mary, I can hear you loud and clearly. Yes. Okay, I'll just show you in a minute. Okay, center and center across selection. Thank you for that question. Okay, any other question? Uh, Wilberforce? Wilberforce, hey, he already answered my question through the control one shortcut. Thank you. Okay, so Mary, if you can look at your screen, I'll just copy my statement again into cell B8. Okay, so if I was to center this is what happens. Okay, okay, or I can just go to the control one. So I'll just center it. Okay, within that cell. Okay, let me just put my dialog box up a little bit. You see what happens when I center? Okay, so when I select a selection and I center, nothing happens. Okay, Mary, I hope you can look. You can be able to see my screen. I've selected a range. I've selected a range of cells and I want to center my heading. Okay, so what did I do? I went to my control one and under the alignment tab, I select across selection. Okay, Excel now knows that I want to select across a certain number of cell. I want to center my selection across a certain number of cells. I hope you're together. Thank you. Okay, guys, we're moving on well. I would like to thank everybody that is asking a question, because there's never a wrong or right question. We're just here to learn from each other. Okay, so I'll move on a little bit fast so that we get to cover quite some ground. Okay, so uh whatever we had here, or whatever is in the control one dialog box, can always be found under this tab. Okay, or rather this drop down that is here. Okay, so when you have this drop down here, you can have your general, number, currency, accounting, short date. And most of you will wonder, what is it, what are these, what is general, what is number, what is currency, what is a short date? And I will explain. For example, was it I'll write, I want us to maybe just under this have general, number, currency. A general number, general. I'll want to have a currency. I will want to have a date. I will want to have a percentage. Okay, and I'll love to have maybe a short date, a long date. A short date and a long date. Okay, so I'll just write numbers here. I'll write maybe 10,000 or 40,000. 40,000, that is okay. Let me just not from, I almost went to my control one, because you'll just get so used to it at some point. Okay, so what do we mean when a number is in general format? That this number is not formatted in any way. Okay, say you just maybe it's just a random number of nothing that needs to be formatted. Okay, but now maybe sometimes you have a number like 40,000 and you've been told the format, or you want to specifically show the person who is using your file that this number is not a number but it's a currency. What can you do? You can either use this option up here, okay, which is you have to go to your mouse, click this, or you can just use the control one button. So when you use the control one button under number, you can always go to number. You see under number there are various options, and the good thing about this, when you toggle maybe move from general to number, you can always see, there's a way that you can format that number. For example, if this general number, I would just wanted to show it with a comma separating the 1,000 values and maybe 2 decimal places. I just go to my control one, go to number, I'll select 2 decimal places, and I use the 1,000 separator, I mark it. Okay, so you see that number becomes formatted in a different way. Okay, so I'll keep using the control one since everybody I think now is familiar with it. Okay, so if I wanted to format this as a currency, I'll just go to my control one, I go to currency. Which currency do I want to format? Okay, maybe this ideally in dollars. I can just use the US dollar. Okay, or you can look for the symbol. Okay, because they are all here. Okay, maybe you want it to be the US dollar, or let's be more patriotic, maybe you want the Kenyan shilling, which was there by default. Okay, so if you want the US dollar, it's there. Maybe you want the Kenya shilling, it's there. How many decimal places do you want to your Kenya shilling? None. And currencies will always come with this comma separating the 1,000. Okay, so I press OK. Sorry, you must, here under the decimal places, you must always put a number that is an integer. So maybe 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you see this number is now formatted as a currency. Okay, so maybe this number is a date, but how it appears in Excel is a number like this, because okay, a small tip. Excel date back from 1900. So the dating number starts from 1 is the first day of January in 1900. Okay, let me show you practically. So if, for example, I'll just sorry, I'll just add a date. Excel first date. Okay, so Excel's first date is a number 1. Okay, it has taken this formatting, but I'll just take it back to general. If anybody can see, there's a under my home ribbon, there's a brush here. This brush is usually used for copying formatting. So for example, I just wanted to copy the formatting on this cell. I'll use this format painter brush. I'll just take it and then I place it over there. It will always copy your formatting. Okay, you can always be noting that down, that under the home ribbon there is the format paint. It's called the format paint or format painter. Okay, it will always enable you to copy a formatting that is already existing into another cell. Maybe I forgot to tell you that. All right, so Excel dates are stored as numbers. Okay, so the first, if I write number 1, Excel and it's a date, Excel knows that it's the first day that it had its dates. So what do I mean? When I press Control 1 and go to dates, okay, everybody can see here, when I press OK, Excel will know that 1 is 01/01/1900. Okay, so what happens when I change to today's date? For example, I'll just show you the back and front of it. Today is 23/01/2023. Okay, you see this is today's date. So maybe I just want to change it to a number, so with 0 decimal places. So Excel stores today's date as 44,949. Remember, it's counting these dates from 1900. So today is the 44,949th day. Okay, so when you're told to format a number as a date, usually just go to the Control 1 and change it to a date. And there are various formats in which you can use. You can always use the short date. Maybe you like the name of the day first. Maybe you just want a short date like that. If I press that, it will give me the short date for today. So another Control 1, just go around, toggle these different fields that exist to get to see what you can do with search. Okay, so also this 40,000, let's see which date was 40,000. So I'll just Control 1 and go to my date. Maybe I want a specific date format, that is the date, the full name of the month, and the year. So this was 6th July 2009. Maybe I want a percentage. Maybe let me just write 0.5. I want this 0.5 to be always represented as a percentage. Okay, so I'll just go again to my Control 1, go to percentage. I don't want any decimal places to my number. I'll write 0 and then okay. Okay, so I think I've already explained the different formats of dates that you can have there. So there are a lot of formats that you can write your numbers in Excel, and I would like you to go and explore each one by one and see the vastness of the application. So here there's something else. I'll just encourage you to go look at how these numbers are usually written. Okay, you can actually go and write your specific number format. Okay, the number format doesn't change the value of the number, it only shows how the number is shown. Kindly know that the number formatting does not change the value of the number. So if this number is 0.5, I write it as a 50%, is still the same. This 23rd Jan 2023 is still stored as a number, although I've represented it as a date. Okay, this is still 40,000. So if I was to multiply this by 2, it wouldn't give me an error. Okay, what happened if I wrote bare hands? Okay, I wrote case 20,000. Okay, and I wanted to multiply this case 20,000 times 2. It will give me a value because Excel does not recognize this name, okay, as and number formatting. Okay, so if you want to format a currency, you must use the preset Excel, or now go ahead and use your custom formats. Okay, I hope you're together up until that point. All right, are we together, guys? Are we understanding? We're just beginning, and I would like to maybe move on to, yes, thank you. So here, yeah, kindly go ahead. Yes, kindly, what's your name? Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yes. So what you do, you just go back to your control one. Now you have formatted it as a date, right? Now I'll just go back to number, maybe remove any decimal place that is there, and press OK. All right, Mercy. But if I wanted to go back to the date, I'll just do the same, go to the control one and go to date and then choose the specific date that I want. Okay. I hope that is well understood. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that being said, I'd like us to move a little bit fast because there are a lot of ribbons to explain around this area. But I told you this is very important for because just of reformatting and whatnot. Okay. So here we have conditional formatting. Maybe this I would like to tackle it a little bit more, maybe while we have done a little bit, but I'll just tell you what it is. Conditional formatting. Maybe you want a certain number to be always marked by a certain color. Okay, what do I mean? Maybe you have a range of numbers. I'll write. Maybe you have 100, you have 50, you have maybe 60, you have maybe 70, maybe you have 80. Okay, and this is student A. I'll just drag this across. Maybe this is student B. Sorry, student B. This is student, maybe Excel should now be able to autofill. Okay, doesn't. D, student E. So maybe I want any student that has a mark below 80 to be marked by a certain format. Okay, so this function is always found under the conditional formatting tab. Okay, so I'll just go to my conditional formatting tab. I'll go to highlight cells. Maybe I want to highlight cells that are greater than 80. All right, with a certain color. I like green, using green. It's usually it's mostly used for that function. So any cell that is greater than 80 with a green. Okay, maybe I want still to format my numbers to any cell that is greater than, maybe anybody that was lesser than 60 with a certain color, red, and maybe, yeah, just that. Okay, so your numbers will always be formatted like that. These numbers do not have any format because they do not fall under any criteria. They are not above they are not above 80, and they are not below 50. So if this student went ahead and got 81, he should get a format for it. Okay, to autofill numbers, Chris, you can always drag. Excel goes ahead and gets your pattern. So if I were to autofill these numbers to 10, there's usually a small cross or plus sign. There's usually a small cross or plus sign that is here. I'll just go ahead and drag this. Okay, it will autofill my numbers, but that is something that you'll just get to to get. Okay, somebody says he can't get me. Is it across the board, or is it just David? Or is it understanding or just hearing? You need to be very clear, David Ochieng, so that I'm not also confused. Is it that you can't understand this concept, or is it that you cannot hear me? Okay. Sorry. Okay, so I'll go ahead and maybe, are you guys able to hear me? Have you gotten the conditional formatting, or is there any question about conditional formatting before I go to? I'll leave this to you. Just formatting something as a table, maybe the cell style that you want. There are a whole lot of styles that you can use. I'll just leave this to you. Go write some set of numbers. Uh, David says, Sikuget Banajo, I cannot now understand. Are you not hearing me, or are you not understanding the concept? David? Okay. So I'll just repeat for the sake of David and maybe anybody who might have the same query or on conditional formatting. Okay. So am I? Can you guys hear me now? Because I'm a little bit worried. Yes, thank you. So I'll redo this again. Maybe I'll just copy the same number of students. Okay. Maybe I'll just write different marks. Maybe I'll write 90, I'll write 30, I'll write 60, and I'll write 50, I'm a 78, and I'll write 65. Okay. So maybe you want to format this set of numbers so that at a first glance you can see which student has passed a certain grade or which student is below a certain grade, and that is always located under the home ribbon conditional formatting. So maybe I just want to see at a quick glance when I look at my cell, because once you look at this you can clearly see, if you are the one who set the rules, that people above 80 are 2, people below 50, the person below 50 is just 1. Okay, so maybe I want to set different rules to these cells. Okay, maybe I want to see now anybody below 60, I want them to, if anybody above 60, I want them to have a certain color in the cell. Okay, so I'll just go ahead, I highlight the cell, I'll say I want any cell that is greater than 60 to have a certain color of green. Okay, for good things I usually like my colors green filled with dark green text, and for anything wrong I always want my colors red. So I'll highlight cells, anything that is less than 60, I'll say I want it to be red. Okay, anything also equal to 60, I'll want it red. Okay, so clearly I can see my red colors represent anything that is below equal or below 60. Okay, so if this student maybe improved and got 68, he will now be in my green area. Okay, all right, I hope David Ocheng have been able to answer your query, but I'm just showing you what you can do with such under this ribbon. It's a very important ribbon. Just go on your worksheet, try redo some of these few things, maybe the formatting, maybe the conditional formatting under here, so that you get to understand. Okay, we'll be using such maybe in our future classes as we go on, because this is just an introduction to Excel. So here what I've left out is how you can format numbers in a table. Maybe we'll check that when we are discussing about tables. Different cell styles, maybe these are now preset cell styles. When you select a cell and you select this one, now it will use the formatting of that style. Of that cell, what do I mean? Maybe I have a number 20 here, and I just want to use already a cell style that is here, maybe calculation. You see, it already picks that style that is already under the cell style. Okay, so if I wanted it to be a warning text, I'll just use that. It will just use the cell style that is here. Maybe this is important when you're building a model and you want to put a cell for input, so that when I select this, it will be in this color. I am not so good in color, so I don't know clearly which color this is, but uh, when you have an entry, you can put this color, and when you have an output, maybe you can put this color. Okay, all right, so I'll just leave it that. Okay, moving on swiftly. This is AutoSum. It will be very important when you have a large set of numbers and you just want to do a quick sum. For example, if I wanted to AutoSum this, I'll just use this. I can come here and sum. Okay, so when it gives you a formula, but I wouldn't want to jump into this because we have not even checked on formulas. We don't know how a formula operates. We don't know the syntax of a formula. But basically, this is what is contained here: the find and select and the analyze data. Okay. So I'll just go on to the insert ribbon. I hope you're together. I hope you've understood the home ribbon. So the insert ribbon, this basically contains tools that help you to insert maybe a table, a pivot table, and it also gives you some, you can insert a chart here. Maybe if you wanted maybe to insert such a chart of these students, you just highlight this, go under the insert ribbon. You can even use now a bar chart. You see how simple it is, just creating a chart like that. So this is what is contained under the insert ribbon. So here you have already plotted where student A is, student B is, student C is, and student D is. So this is hosted under the insert ribbon. You can always go to recommended charts, select your data. This is once you have selected your data, you can go here. Excel will always recommend some charts that you can use, or if you want to use your charts, specific charts, you can go to all charts and see all the different charts that exist. Okay, so this is just to show you what is contained here, but if you're able to insert this chart right now, well and good. Okay, because you can I'll show you how to change the chart title, maybe change the axis, the legends. Okay, in our future classes. Okay, guys, are we together? Can you hear me? Thank you. So all this is under the insert ribbon. So we have the pivot table. We'll get to see how to insert a pivot table. Remember, pivot tables can be very, very important while analyzing data, or you just want to maybe set some table in which auto filters can be used. Okay, so that is very important. Is that a question? Is that a question? Okay, since it's not a question, I'll continue. Okay, so here you can insert all different types of question. If you have some geodata and you want to plot, maybe you can always use the maps to plot. A pivot chart now relates to a pivot table. So once you have a pivot table, you might be able to plot a pivot chart. All right. Okay, so that's it. This slicer and timeline, these are pivot table tools. We'll get to look at them too as we go ahead. The comment is usually used when you want to annotate a cell. Maybe you want to say student A is maybe something. Maybe student A, he was the most disciplined. Okay, so once I have that, this will be a comment under this cell. It will always be hidden, but once I hover over the cell, I'll be able to see the comment that was made. So this is very important maybe when you're working with other people and maybe you're reviewing even financial data, or you're reviewing a project and maybe you say this number doesn't make sense. It is usually very important to add a comment. Okay, this you can always add a comment here, or under the review tab where we'll see how to also put notes or comments. So sometimes you might want to put a note or a comment, so you can always insert a comment in the insert under the insert ribbon here, or you can always go to under the review ribbon and insert notes or comments. Okay, so I'll just show you also how to insert a note inside, because most of the times maybe you're not even writing a comment to anybody, maybe you just want to remember something about that number in a cell. You'll just put a note. So the other thing, maybe before I forget, under comment, when I start a conversation, maybe say he was the best boy or best girl in the class. Somebody else can come under my in class. When I post this comment, somebody else can come and say no, he was not. He was very noisy. So this is just like you having a conversation. So if you're on if you're on a OneDrive file that you've shared, or you have shared to a file to someone, they'll be able to put in their comments, and you guys can have a conversation inside the worksheet. Okay, so I'll just delete this thread because it's not very useful. Okay, so I think symbols, these are mathematical symbols that you might need to use. They are always vested under this ribbon here. So texts, this is just similar to the word text box. Maybe you don't want to type inside a cell, you want to have a text box. You can always insert a text box. A text box is different from a cell. Do you see what a text box does? A text box can move. You cannot move a cell. Now if I maybe wanted to place that text box there, maybe instead of the chat title and Excel, I can write this is which students get 90. Is it Kisii High School? Maybe Kisii High School. Sorry, Kisii High. Maybe results. So this is what a text box, no, but the text box can move in that it is not always vested in a cell. So such you can only get to see and maybe enjoy even hovering around the cell while you go to the under the insert tab, use the text box. Text box are very important maybe when you want to write a very long story and you don't want to wrap a text or merge and center. You can be able to write a lot within a maybe a very longer explanation within the text box. Okay, so that's that. Moving on swiftly now to the page layout. So I'll just move this so that I get to explain page layout. Okay, so page layout, this now, remember we said, I'll just remove this text box because it's not very important at the moment. Okay, so a page layout, this again is very important when you want to print something. Okay, when you want to print something, how you want it to look like. Maybe you want to use these tools here. I'll explain what they are. The page layout enables you to set your print area, okay, and even the theme for your worksheet. So there's usually a lot of themes here, so I just use the custom theme myself, but you can use any theme that you want, so long as it looks okay. All right, so the main thing that I will want to focus here is just setting the print area. What is setting the print area? Setting the print area is selecting an area in which you want to print. Maybe I just wanted to print the first 9 rows. I wanted to print from A1 to H9. Okay, so if I set this as my print area, look at what happens when I go and print. When I go to print, I'll just press Control P. You see what is printed? Only what I set as my print area. Okay, so I'll repeat that again. For example, now I'll go up to A15 and H15. Maybe I just wanted to print the first 15 lines. Okay, So I'll just come here and I set my print area as that, okay, so that when I go to print, I'll only have that, because sometimes maybe you're working on something and you don't want to print the whole worksheet, so you can always set the print area, okay. Something else I'll speak about is print titles. Print titles usually is when you're printing in more than one page and you want the titles to be printed at the top of each page, okay. So what happens in this, you have, when you go to your print titles, maybe this is not a very good example, but I'll just use it. Maybe if I select this area and I click the print titles, it will always ask me which row do you want to be repeated at the top of each page, okay. So if I had like a row in page 1 and I want it to be repeated in each and every page, I'll just select that row and then I'll go to my print preview, so it will show me how each row is repeated at each and every page, okay. So that is something to take keen note of under the page layout. This is just basically formatting the page and how you want it to look like. It has a close relation with the view, okay, with the view ribbon. Now the view ribbon enables you to see how many pages you have, okay. So under the normal view, you'll just see Excel in how it is, but under the page break view, you can be able to even enlarge your page. Maybe I want all these things to be in one page. I'll just go do like that. You can always extend this thick borders to, maybe I want this to be in 2 pages, okay. So if they can fit in 1 page, I'll do like that. So if you have so much data and it cannot maybe fit in 1 page, you just go under the page break preview and select the 2 pages, okay. So the page layout and the view ribbon work hand in hand, okay. So here you can be able to zoom. You can always zoom here, okay, under this, or you can always increase your zoom here, okay. When you look here, there's always a zoom button, okay. So you can zoom here, or you can go under the view tab and zoom. When you zoom, it will always tell you, it will always ask you, sorry, it will always ask you how much you want to zoom, okay. So you press this. When you press this zoom, it tells you return it to the normal 100. So when you want to zoom, maybe I want my page to be constantly zoomed at 80. I'll just press OK. Everything will be zoomed into 80. But when I want maybe to zoom out at 100, I'll just press that, or I can still use this button to press the custom to just get the custom 100. Okay. So that is basically the page layout. This one you will be used to maybe determine the width of the page that you want to print. All these things are just under basically vested for your printing or presentation purpose. Okay. Under here the grid lines, and maybe sometimes you want your page. Have you ever seen a page that looks that doesn't have these lines? Okay, so when I want my page, the lines that separate cells, I don't want to see them maybe when I'm presenting. Maybe I just want to, I'll use my custom borders. As we said, borders can always be found under home, under this button. Maybe I just want to have my borders and I don't want the grid lines. Okay, so you can choose to use your borders, or you can always use the, I'll just select no border. You can use under the page layout, you can choose to not view the grid lines. Okay, sometimes do you want to print the grid lines, yes or no? So you remember when we were printing under our print preview, you see now there are grid lines under the print preview, but I don't want to be printing the grid lines. So if you unselect that option and you go to the print preview, there will be no grid lines. Okay, so do you want to be viewing the headings, and do you want to be printing the headings, all that? Okay, so the headings are this. Okay, I want to be viewing them, but I don't want to be printing them. What if I do want to view them? This is how my Excel sheet will look like. So if you're good to use the name box here, it's well and good, but conventionally I usually prefer viewing the heading so that I can just know on which cell and which row I am working on. All right, so those are some of the sheet options. For more options, they're usually usually this dialog box that can be expanded down here. All right, remember all these things, you have to use them to get them. Okay, so I hope you're moving on very well and we are understanding these points. Okay, so what this bring back and send backward, just like on micro MS PowerPoint, you can always bring back an image. Okay, maybe I have two images and I want one to be behind the other, so I can always maybe you can bring back or you can send forward something. Okay, maybe we will just see that in the near future. Well, maybe we put a picture or a graph, two overlapping graphs over each other. Okay, so alignment is what you want to align, whatever you have selected. Maybe you have four pictures, you want to align them to the middle, to the center. All these options will not be grayed out once you have maybe four images. That maybe if I duplicated this, I just copy and I paste it here. Sorry, let me just I'll just undo. Maybe I copy this and I paste it. So if I wanted to align this and this, I can group them. I can align, maybe if I align right, you see they get aligned. Okay, so if I had I did group them. I'll ungroup and group, so that I just get to show you. Maybe I have these two images, two graphs. Okay, I just copied the other one that we had just for explanation purpose. So I want to align this and this, and I want to align them in a certain manner. Maybe I'll align at the maybe center. Maybe I want to align them left. No, but once I align them, they cannot change. But it basically shows you. So if maybe I had them not overlapping, I'll just push this one. I'll just click away. I want the lower one. You see, maybe I had this one here and I want this one here, but I want both of them to be on the same line. I'll just align them to maybe left or right or whatever I want them to go. So grouping is making these two objects move as one. Okay, so if I group this, I can always move them as, sorry, I have to select this and I have to select this and I have to let me add group first, and to group them so that when you group something, you make them move as one. Okay, I have to, sorry for that. Oh, I have to click outside this margin so that I move them as one object. Okay, but when I click inside one, it will always give me the option of moving one. Okay, so but when I move them back, they'll just move together. So for this, I'll just ask you to go insert this graph on how we inserted it here. Copy that graph, try grouping, try ungrouping, try aligning them to see, just basically see what happens. Okay, so at this juncture, I would like to ask if there is any question before I go to formulas, so that we don't leave anybody behind and you are able to cover. I just want us to be able to see what is in the ribbon, so that tomorrow maybe we'll just be very fast on the other things. Is there any question so far? No hand is up. I'm checking the chat. Oh, sorry. Scholar says I'm going too fast. Duncan Rasugu. Okay, Juliet, sorry for that. I didn't see. Juliet says about notes. I'll repeat that when I'm dealing with on the review ribbon. So I got you covered. And who else? Scholar says I'm going too fast. Thank you for that. I'll try to tone down my speed. And then Duncan says the commenting part. Commenting. Okay. So to answer Duncan Rasugu, hope I'm getting the name right. Duncan, we said commenting is maybe when you're working with somebody else on a file. Remember, you can work simultaneously on one file with different people when you're under the OneDrive, or when you're on OneDrive. Okay, so maybe you guys are working on a similar project and you're supposed to finish your part, and another person is supposed to take the part and do something else, and maybe you find something that does not sit or augur well with you. You can always go under the comment ribbon, under the insert ribbon, under the insert ribbon. You can always go to the comment tab and type something. Maybe you say, uh, this number should be this number should be a currency. Maybe in your opinion, it's not be supposed to be in a general format. And then, because I'm replying to myself, that's why you'll see Kennedy Karanja and Kennedy Karanja. But if it was on the other way around, maybe somebody else called Duncan responded and said this should just be, should remain as is. So when you comment that, it's like you're creating a thread. It's like you're chatting on Excel. Okay, if I may put it in, uh if I may put it that way. Okay, I might look for some geographic data, although Excel has not really optimized its geographic data presentation. Though I might look for some Joel Mondo, although if you want to really plot or use geographic data, personally I will advise going for Power BI, because you'll get clearer and crispier maps and well plotted geographic data. But if need be, I'll try something on maps during this class. Okay, hope I've answered that. Let me see any other question. Scholar, could you just say where you missed, maybe, so that I repeat before we go on to formulas? Okay, so formulas. Okay, kindly go ahead. Oh, you didn't get where we put borders. Okay, sawa. So borders are usually under the home ribbon here. Maybe I did not mention it, but it's under the home ribbon. So maybe you want to put something, maybe I want to put a border on this, and everything should have a border. They are usually very different border styles. Okay, you can use one that is thick outside, you can use all borders. For example, when I put all borders, all my numbers will have some borders of sort. Maybe I don't want no border, I just highlight again. I go to under my border tab, I just say no border, and then I can put another style of border that I want, that I feel like is good for me. So Scholar, when you want to put a border, just highlight the place that you want to put a border, then select the type of border that you want. All right. For example, if I'm doing a sum and I have an answer, okay, maybe I've found my answer to be 90, okay, and I want a border, I can put this, I can use a top and top and two double bottom borders, just to show that this is an answer, maybe. Okay, so there are different style of borders. I cannot go one by one explaining how they look like, but they're really just self-explanatory once you are able to write a number and envision what you want to use in your file. Okay, thank you for those questions. I really appreciate when you ask such questions, because I get to know that we are together. So next is the formulas ribbon. The formulas ribbon has different types of formulas. Formulas usually appear as a, say this is a name box, but this here, where I'm highlighting here, this whole bar is called a formula bar. So formulas, when I write something, maybe I want to write a sum, okay, it will usually appear here, but wouldn't want to go into that today, because again we have slotted on how to insert formulas, how to use formulas for a later day. Okay, so usually here there you'll find some of them recently used, like if for me I've used some, I've used average, I've used the if, I've used the hyperlink, count, max, the sign, the sum if, the pmt, and the standard dev recently. So if there's any other that I want, I can always insert a function that I want here. Okay, so I'll leave this tab so that okay, I'll leave this tab first so that we'll get to look at it more. And all something else, we cannot look at all the formulas because there exist over 400 or 500 known formulas to me. So we cannot exhaust all, but I'll tell you on your free time, or while you go home, or while you're just doing your own thing, you can try looking at these things and maybe have questions for me when we get to formulas, because this just gives you the different types of formulas and their groupings. Okay, so maybe we can have, as I told you, that is recently used, we can have all these formulas. To be honest, some of them are not even familiar to me because I've never used them. Okay, but all these formulas do exist. But some logical formulas like and, if error, if na, ifs, maybe let, maybe or, maybe switch, these are normally used formulas, and we'll get to have a look at them. We'll also try to look at these types of formulas. What's a left formula? How is an Excel syntax read? So left, what is text, what's the num cars? Okay, because right now it might be appearing as French, but these are things that we'll look at. Okay, so for this, I'll show you what tracing a dependent is, what tracing a precedent is. Okay, these are just like formula auditing tools. Okay, but now can only be shown once you know how to write a formula. Okay, but I must just show you, for example, just to make you understand. Maybe if I had a number, if I wanted to add this number to 5, and I went ahead and pressed the precedent tool, it will always show me where I'm getting my formulas from, and maybe this number again is dependent by another one. Although this might confuse you a little bit, I will tell you not to worry at all, because we will we will we will go through this when you get to formula. So at this point, don't get stressed at all. Well, but I'm just showing you what a precedent is. It just tells you where my formula is coming from, but we'll get uh to look at it. Also, the calculate options, usually by default it's automatic, but when you have a very big table that you don't want to keep it running each and every time, you can always choose the manual calculate option. So manual calculate option works in such a way that you can only calculate everything in the cell once you press this button. Okay, but don't worry, this is just an introduction, so we'll not go deep into those details. Okay, I don't understand. Joel still has an issue with commenting, but I'll go through it, and as I'm writing my review, as under the review ribbon. Okay. So data. This is where you'll spend most of your time, under this ribbon, because this ribbon has so much for as an analyst, that be it a data analyst, be it a business analyst, be it a data scientist that is using Excel. Under this ribbon is now where I will say rubber meets the road, if I'm right. So here you'll have your data tools and everything that you need. Okay, so I'll just explain a little bit, and maybe I'll go into details when we are using it. Okay, so here, getting data, this is usually when you want to get data from external sources. Maybe you want to get data from a file that already exists in your Excel, a text file or a comma separated value file, an XML file, a JSON file, a PDF, or from a folder. You can get from a database, be it an SQL database, be it an Oracle database, and all that. But I'll want us to do this while we are learning how to maybe get even data from the web. I'll come to this while we get to learn how you can get data directly to Excel from some certain websites. Okay, so don't worry about that, but this is what is contained under the data ribbon. Also, it will also show you all the queries and connection. Queries is when you query, we use Power Query for Excel. You are now, when you connect to a certain data source and you want to do some simple transformations, you want to do some some repetitive steps, so that when you have your data, you don't have to keep doing the you don't have to keep on cleaning your data each and every time. We'll soon see how to do that under this tab. Okay, so these are just some other tools that can be used. This one is to sort maybe your data. Maybe I wanted to sort these words here. Okay, maybe I wanted to sort these words that exist from 11 to 15. You can see the first word is general, currency, Excel date, date, and percentage. Maybe I just wanted to sort them using I'll select my table doesn't have headers. I want to sort them using column C. Okay, so that the first letter can be the first. Okay, so you see the C comes, then the D, then the E, then the G, then the P. Okay, that is a function under the data tab. Okay, so if you have not seen it, this is how I've done it. I've highlighted these names. You can just write a set of names, be it names of people, be it names of your classmates or anything, or your friends, just to see how you can use the sort. You can sort. You can always sort by you select by default. Excel will always think that the first line is your header, but that is not always true at all points, because sometimes you don't have a header in your data. So you'll just unselect that, and then you'll select the column that you want your data to be sorted with. So here I'll select C, and then A to Z. I'll sort my data. So these are some of the tools that you can find under the data tab. You'll also find a filter option. We'll get to see how you can, maybe you have 2 rows of large data and you want to insert a filter. We'll see how you can do that. I didn't want to go to the data today, so that we just get to feel the some of these tools. Okay, so a text to column is something that is used to separate a text string into different columns. Okay, we'll get to see that and how it can be used to separate. Maybe you have 3 names of each person. Okay, for example, maybe if I might just show you an example on this, so that we are together. Maybe my name is Jackson Ondiek Mwangi. All right, so maybe you have these 3 names and you want to separate them into 3 different cells. The text to column function can always be used to separate this. Maybe I can just say after every space separate. So I'll just go to the delimited, I'll go to next, I'll just say a space. Okay, so you see Excel will put lines in there, and when I press next and finish, these names will be separated into 3 different cells. So that's a text to column function. Okay, although most of it is used when you get data maybe from a web source, or when you get data from maybe for example Oracle. It usually gives you the data in text form, and you might need to separate it into different columns. Just as you have seen, we had the one name there, Jackson Ondiek Mwangi, and we need to separate it into 3 columns. So what did we do? We went to our text columns, because this is picked as one text, but it's not fixed with any fixed fields that are aligned. Fields are aligned in columns with spaces between each field. Since we have something that delimits them, or delimiting is like separates them, So we can see that a space is between all these names. So you can just go to next. I select a space and I press next, and my name is separated into these three columns. Okay, so that is something that you might try out right now or later, but make sure you try out, because once you get a large data set and you might need to separate it, you might need to use that function. All right, are we together, guys? I know that text column is usually at the first glance it can be quite something to understand or to use, but once you use it once or twice, you'll be good to go. Okay, so here is a flash fill. Yeah, here's a flash fill. I remember there was a question by, I can't remember correctly, but Chris, if I'm not wrong, Chris had asked how I filled in some numbers. So normally this tool here, uh, uh, indicated flash fill, helps you maybe to fill numbers or characters based on a certain column. Okay, so if I had numbers here written this way, then I selected the flash fill, you see it already knows that, sorry, this is the quick analysis tool. Okay, so it is usually control Q. It helps you to quickly put in a chart, a total, a table, but I wouldn't go into that today, but I just wanted you to know. Okay, so once you have a certain numbers, and Excel has seen the pattern, and you want to maybe extend a list, there's always this option. Okay, so there's always that option of a small cross, addition sign, sorry, or a cross sign, a small one that can always pick from the edge, the rightmost part of the bottom of the selection, and highlight. Okay, so a flash fill can always be used. Maybe you want, after every each and every of this number, maybe you want something, maybe a word, maybe you want to have student 1, student 1, maybe you want student 2, sorry, student 3. You can just go here and check if Excel has recognized any example that might help you to fill in a column. So if you do this and there's nothing, it means that the pattern has not yet been recognized. Okay, but if you do drag this, it should be able to flash fill for you. Okay, it can always give you autofill options and all that. Okay, but we'll keep using this, so don't worry, this is just an introduction of what can happen, or how you can work faster. So what under here is also something very important called removing duplicates. Remove duplicates is something that helps you to clear duplicates from a certain number. So for example, if I have a set of numbers, maybe 5. Here I have a set of numbers on my screen. I would like you to type in my chat box, how many unique numbers do I have on the screen? How many unique numbers do I have on the screen? Somebody to chat in so that I know we are together and you're seeing my screen. Yes, thank you, MK. We have 3 unique numbers on the screen. So Excel you can be able to quickly remove duplicates using this function here, this remove duplicate. So when I select remove duplicates, it will ask me where do you want to remove the duplicates? Is it in the highlights? Okay, I'll press OK. So Excel will only maintain my 3 unique values. Okay, so that is the function of this button here, indicated remove duplicates. Okay, thank you for that. So validation is a very important tool, And I hear people nowadays seek a lot of validation, but that is not what we're speaking about. Validation, we are speaking about validation in Excel, in which you have a set of of uh, of numbers that you have pre-selected that can only be entered in a certain cell. So I think this I will look at it tomorrow as we look at some of the types of referencing and all that kind of stuff. So for this, kindly know that tomorrow we'll look at on how to create a data validation, on how to create a custom one, the different types of validations that exist, and all that. Okay. So as I finish up on the data ribbon, we have the focus sheet. The focus sheet now helps you to Excel has what you'll call a predictive analysis, predictive power that can help you just generate numbers based on the numbers that you feed it. Okay, so it uses the I think the logistic model, if I'm not wrong. I'll confirm that, but that is what it does use to predict the numbers that you give it. Okay, so here under the focused tab, you'll be able to see also the what if analysis we'll go through as part of our outline, and see how we can have different scenarios of different numbers based on the models that we have. Okay, so the outline is a more of a formatting tool. This enables you to group things together. Okay, so for example, if this is day one class, okay, and I had day two class here, maybe because this is just an introduction, kindly note that this is just an introduction, but I'll try show you using this. So maybe I just wanted my Excel sheet to be just showing. I'll push this a little bit so that they fit nicely in my outlines. So if I just wanted to show you day one class only, and then day two, okay, so I'll just come highlight everything before day two. Okay, I'll come here in the outline and I'll group. Okay, so when I group that, I hope most of you have seen, I now have two views. I can choose the first view or the second view. When I choose the first view, I've hidden everything using the outline function. Okay, so that is how the outline function works. So if I want to view everything, I go to my second view, but if I want to view only one thing, I'll just press one. Okay, it can be quite something, but remember, this is just introduction, so don't stress yourself so much, but be curious on how these things work. John Gedoi tells me to repeat, and I will. John, I'm saying I'll just undo everything. Remember guys, the undo button is here. I'll just undo. Yes, up until where I only had one view. You see, when you use the outline here, there's none. There's nothing indicated one or two. But maybe when you want to compress maybe you have titles, maybe analysis on something one, analysis on something two, and you just want to give the highlights only, you can always use the group function. Okay, so the group function now is hosted under outline. Okay, you can use the group and group or subtotal. So the group one enables you to group a number of rows together or a number of columns. Whichever that you want is always available. So for example, I want to group the first rows from row 3 to row 37 together. So what do? I'll just highlight them, go to the outline function, and then group. Okay, so when I press group, I'll say I want to group, and now it will give me the different outlines. So I think I grouped twice, that's why I have more than one view. So I'll have view 1 and view 2. So when I press on view 1, I'll only see whatever I've compressed now. But I can always use this plus sign to expand, or I can use this. Okay, kindly note you can try this on your own, grouping a number of of rows or column, it works on both. So when I group columns, maybe I want to group all these columns together, I'll just go and to the outline and then group, and then I'll have now different views. When you group column, the numbers appear up here. When you group rows, the numbers appear up here on your left hand side, and this ones appear quite up here. So you can always try work out on this just to see the different views and what you can do with this. Okay, so I'll just undo everything so that I do it one more time. For the person who is following through or working through in their PC, they are able to follow through. Okay, so as you can see here, we have removed all the views, and we don't have any view under the outline. So we said you can always select the number of rows or column that you want. In this case, we're using rows to just see how you can present something under the group. Then I use 2. Okay, sorry, I can choose one, the compressed view or the expanded view. Okay, John says he has understood, and I'm glad for that, John. So the next thing is if you have the data analysis tool pack, kindly say yes, I have it in the chat box so that I get to know, because this is an add-in. Solver is an add-in. It helps you in doing different things that are not basically, you don't basically have them in Excel. So who has the data analysis tool pack? Because under the data analysis toolpack, you'll find all the functions that I know most of you have come through or have ever seen: the ANOVA single factor, the ANOVA two-factor replication, without replication, correlation, covariance, descriptive statistics, all these regressions, and the Fourier series, and the z-tests. Is there anybody who has the data analysis on their machine? I don't. Okay, Kabila doesn't. George has. Okay, who else has? Omundi, Oko, and Dele says they don't have. So as I earlier alluded, the data analysis and search solver, they don't usually come with Excel. So you must make a point of adding them. And how do I add this? You always go back, as we had discussed, to the file. You go to the options, you go to the add-ins, you select it. It's usually here. You just go to this one, you select, and then you press go, and then you select OK. And then when you press OK, this will always appear up here on your data ribbon. Okay, so you can follow that process. If you can't, we'll look at it tomorrow, because it was not part of today's. Today we just was doing an introduction, but it's just good to know how you can do it very fast. Okay, all right. So guys, I think I've touched on most things on the data ribbon. I'll go next to review, as I also explain on the comments. Okay, so under the comments, you can always make a comment on a cell or a note. Okay, so you can always create a new comment here. We said you can either create a new comment here, or you can go under the insert ribbon and just create a comment. So I said you can either use it on the insert or the review. Both are the same, both function in a similar manner. So when you want to comment, you can comment on a cell. Okay, you can comment on a heading. Okay, maybe we are working on a project and it's not financial report for the end year, and maybe you're working with someone else, or somebody, you've sent a report to your boss, and maybe they want you to change the comment. So they can just write, if maybe my junior had sent me this, and I tell them kindly change the heading. Okay, so I've told them to kindly change the heading. They'll come here, maybe after they have changed the heading, and they'll tell me heading has been changed. once they send me this file and they have updated the comment, I'll know that that change was made. Okay, so that's all about comments. It's not really much, but it's just uh something to communicate in between teams, okay, that are working together on a file. Or if you just want to your reader maybe to have a certain thought, okay, but it's usually the comment is usually used when you're working maybe for you're working for someone and they make a comment. So also notes uh notes work in the similar manner, but now this one is just something that you want to note, okay, maybe you're not sure, very sure about this value, so you say to confirm the amount, to confirm the amount. Okay, so I know I'll always be seeing a red here, and I'll know I'm supposed to confirm if this amount was 40,000. Okay, so that is all about it. There's really not much that we can say, but it's just to this review is just to show notes and comments also on protecting workbook. Protecting a worksheet is when you protect a worksheet. For example, I go and protect worksheet here and say maybe the password is data in caps, and then I put data. All cells, I cannot make any changes. Look, when I try to make any change, it tells me the cell or chart you're trying to change is on a protected sheet. To make change and protect the sheet. So that is all about protecting a sheet. Protecting a sheet is ensuring once you put a password on it, nobody can change anything. So if I was to unprotect this sheet, I just use the same password that I've used. I use data in caps. You can use any password that you want. Now I can go ahead and maybe even delete anything. I'm not limited. Okay, so protecting a sheet is locking cells to ensure that no change can be made. Okay, are we together, guys? I hope you're not tired. I hope you're understanding, and I hope you have questions for me, because I'm very ready to answer them. Joseph says there's something on alignment that he doesn't understand. Let me just note it down so that I get to answer him. Okay, I hope I think it's Mwando who had asked about the commenting. I hope you can now differentiate between a comment and a note. A comment is usually when you're working with somebody else, but a note is, to me, is usually something that you want to note inside a cell or inside a table. Maybe you just want to make a note of something, maybe to confirm, maybe to do. But a comment usually when you're working with someone else and they have their own comments about your work, maybe some changes you're supposed to make. Okay, or maybe you're guiding somebody. Okay, maybe I want in this cell a person just to insert date and nothing else. I can just make a note here. I can just go to my review ribbon and make a note and tell the value must always be a date. So when a person is working on this file and they want to enter something here, this note will always be popping up. So they'll ensure that I, as the creator of the file, have alerted them that when they're entering a value here, it should always be a date. But we'll get to see how we can again limit people if we want only a date to be entered, that they only entering dates. Okay, that we'll do through the data validation, as I had earlier alluded. Joel asks for locked cells, can data be filled in by third party? Yes and no. I'll tell you, once you lock a cell, it cannot be filled. But again, you can lock partially some cells and you can unlock some cells. So maybe you just want them to fill in only particular cells, and some cells they cannot touch. This happens when you have a heavy formula based worksheet, and maybe somebody you fear they might interfere with your formulas. Okay, so what you do, you can lock all the formulas, and then you can let them have the other the rest of the worksheet to play with. But usually you can lock some cells and leave others unlocked. Okay. Okay. So that's all about the review. There's not so much in there. View, I think I'd already gone through the automate. This is a newer ribbon that might not be in most of the excels that you're using, apart from if you're using the Office 365. Okay. Okay. For developer, this is just the programming bit of Excel. Okay, so here you can write your own code. You can write uh, your own functions in a way that you want. Okay, so they give you a code editor here that maybe you want to insert a new apart now from a new apart from the custom formulas and applications that are in Excel. Maybe you want something new. It is always under the under the developer tab. Okay, so this is usually useful if you know you're good enough and you can write your own VBA code. Okay, so this one might come in a little bit later. Maybe you might just touch on how you might not necessarily write code, but you can record some steps that will translate themselves into code. Okay, so yeah, so basically help is, well, everything is not going well and you might need some help. This especially if you're connected to your Microsoft, you can always click this. I think it will lead you now to the help page in the community. Remember, something like Excel, Microsoft Excel has a community where people go post questions, and answers are given to specific problems. Maybe there's a malfunction, maybe there's something that is not working just correctly. uh the the community, the help ribbon will help you a lot. This might not You might not have this. It's the fuzzy lookup. I'll not explain to it much because it might confuse you a little bit initially, but this helps you to look up words that are not exact. I know that might not be very familiar with you, but maybe I'll show you how to use it. And then there is the power pivot, also used to build data models. Okay, we'll go through this later. Okay, so basically a recap of what we've done. We've looked at all the ribbons. We've looked at the home, the insert, the page layout, the formulas, data, what is hosted under the review. We've looked at the various functions that we have. We looked at the various places and what they are called. We've looked at the name box, at the formula bar, at the A1 style referencing in the columns. Okay, also we have looked this is called a worksheet. So if we were to name it, we could call it day one. So if tomorrow we come and maybe now start working on our data, we can have something else in a new sheet and call it day two. Okay, so this down here are usually worksheets. These are the tools for different views, maybe the page layout, the page break preview, and the zoom in and the zoom out functions. Okay, so that is basically what we've looked at. Very slow at the start, very simple things to look at. Just basic the basics that we might need going forward, and I'm glad that we have been listening. And I'm welcome for any questions, because I also see that our time is almost up, and I would really like to respect your time. So guys, I'm asking for a few questions here and there before we call it a day. If you feel like you've not understood anything, you can just chat in the box as I check also if there's a part that I've not answered. Joseph had asked a question on alignment. Okay, so Joseph, if you can see my screen, I'll ungroup this. I have two graphs here. Maybe I can call this chart A. call that chat A, and I can call this chat B. So if I was to, I'll ungroup them. Let's go to view, sorry, page layout, and ungroup this. So okay, so you see these things are not aligned, okay, and maybe I just want to align this, okay. I'll just select these two graphs, go to the align tab, and align them to any direction that I want, okay. So you can just go try out all these and see if I align in the middle, if I align left. Remember now these two things are fully aligned, okay. So if I align center, what happens? If I align left, what happens? Okay. So you can, I'm kindly asking you to go do that so that you can get to understand. I see another question from King Mula says, how can one access the videos of the previous lessons? After the class, we'll do we'll upload a video, and Bon will guide you on the same from the group on how to access the video. Okay, there's a person with a Roman name here. I don't know him, but he asks, in regard to today's topic, if you have any other question that is particularly not today's, you can just side chat me so that I get to answer your question, so that we don't get to confuse anybody who might still be absorbing today's content. Kennedy asks, what's the difference between a worksheet and a workbook? And is it possible to link a worksheet and a which ribbon? Okay, so Kennedy, a worksheet is just this space under a sheet, okay. So a combination of different worksheets, usually you can create as many worksheets under a workbook, okay. So this, as we were working on, is one worksheet, which is day 1. We can have another worksheet which is day 2. All these are worksheets which are under this book, okay. So while I save this, maybe I save it as I can save it as, I can just save it on my desktop. If I save it under my desktop, let me just save it in any format. I can save it and I call it day 1 tutorial. Once I save it like that, now day 1 tutorial is a workbook, okay. So that's a workbook containing 3 worksheets, which is day 1, day 2, and maybe day 3. Okay, I'd like to answer one or two more questions. Yes, the Google Classroom will be activated on Thursday, so that you get to do your project for what we have learned through the week. That is to John Okite. I hope, Mutunga, I have answered your question satisfactorily, and you are well versed now with the difference between a workbook and a worksheet. Any other questions? Or I can go ahead and now close the meeting. Is there any other question? If not, I would like to thank you all for turning up on time, being very attentive, and your questions, and I hope to see you tomorrow. The data that I sent you is just an online version, so that you get to see how can I use data, how can I like go through numbers. But tomorrow I'll send you another data now that is specific to our class. Okay, all right, thank you all and have a good night.